What would you do if you walked into your first day of work at the most feared house in the city, watched the boss throw a Baccarat decanter through a Steinway concert grand, and heard yourself say, out loud, before your brain could stop you, "That was a very expensive tantrum"? This is not a story about a difficult employer. This is what happens when the one person in a house full of frightened men refuses, quietly and completely, to be afraid of the man everyone else is running from. Delphine Marchetti had heard, over the course of the 10 days since the placement agency had first called her about the position, approximately 14 separate versions of the same warning about the Caravelli residence, and by the time she stood at the wrought iron service gate at 7:45 on the second Monday of September with her small duffel bag over her shoulder and her employment papers in a folder under her arm, she had cataloged the specific vocabulary of the 14 warnings. With the precision of a woman who had spent the better part of her adult life listening to other people's fears about things she was going to have to walk into anyway, and she had, in the specific interior compartment where she kept the small private policies that governed her professional life, decided that she was going to make no operational adjustments to accommodate any of the 14 warnings, because the 14 warnings had all been delivered by people who did not, themselves, work for the specific man they were warning her about, and because in her experience the specific people who worked closely with specific difficult men were considerably less frightened of those men than the specific people who did not. And she was going to be, starting at 8 o'clock on the second Monday of September, one of the specific people who worked closely with him. She was 28 years old. She stood 5 feet 3 inches. She carried 220 pounds on a frame that had been described to her, over the course of her life, in every possible register from clinical concern to open cruelty, and which she had, at approximately the age of 22, decided she was simply going to inhabit without further internal commentary on its dimensions. In the specific way a person who has arrived at peace with a house they cannot move out of stops rearranging the furniture. She had warm olive-brown skin, dark curly hair that she wore in a loose knot at the nape of her neck, a round soft face with the specific quality of expressive good humor that her grandmother had told her, from the time she was very small, was the specific most valuable feature she possessed, and large hazel eyes that noticed everything and revealed nothing that she had not. In the specific interior compartment where she made such decisions, decided to reveal. She had been a professional housekeeper since she was 19, having entered the industry through the specific back door of caring for a Sicilian great-aunt in the north side of Chicago, whose specific standards of household management had been the standards of a woman who had run a considerable estate in Palermo for 30 years before immigrating and who had, over the course of 2 years, transmitted the specific full architecture of those standards to Delphine with the specific patient thoroughness of a woman who understood she was passing down a considerable inheritance and would not permit it to be received casually. Delphine had, over the 9 years since her great-aunt's death, worked in 6 private residences of increasing seniority, and had, in each of those residences, been the specific person the specific principal of the household eventually asked for by name when they wanted a specific job done to the specific standard the great-aunt had taught her, and she had, over the 9 years, accumulated the specific reputation in the specific quiet professional network of Chicago's private household staff of being the specific woman you called when your household had reached the specific condition that required a specific person of specific competence to reset it. The Caravelli residence had reached that condition. The placement agency had reached out to her because the specific senior lieutenant of the Caravelli organization who managed the residence's staffing, a specific man named Rocco, had, at the end of a specific August in which the residence had cycled through 9 housekeepers in 6 weeks, called the specific agency owner and told her, in the specific quiet register that specific Caravelli lieutenants used when they had exhausted their usual resources, that he needed a specific woman who was not going to be dismissed at the end of her first day, and that the specific criterion was the only criterion, and that the specific compensation would be adjusted upward until the specific criterion had been met. The agency owner had thought about it for approximately 30 seconds and had called Delphine. Delphine had asked one specific question during the initial call. What, specifically, was the man she would be working for angry about? The agency owner had said, in the specific measured register of a woman who had run a specific placement agency in Chicago for 22 years, and had learned to speak with precise professional discretion about specific principles in specific residences, that she did not, herself, know the specific answer, but that in her professional judgment the specific man was not angry about a specific thing, but was, in the general condition of him, angry, and that the specific anger had, over the course of the last several months, become the specific operational climate of the residence, and that the specific residence required a specific woman who could function inside that climate rather than reorganizing herself around it. Delphine had said, in the specific short register she used for these conversations, that this was a specific description she could work with, and that she would accept the position, and that she would be at the residence at 8 on the second Monday of September, and she had, in the 10 days between the specific call and the specific arrival, done precisely no additional research into the specific residence or the specific man, because in her specific professional experience the specific research always produced the specific frightened workforce that had been the specific source of the residence's specific problem to begin with, and she was not going to arrive at the residence pre-frightened. The residence itself was a limestone Beaux-Arts on Astor Street that had been in the Caravelli family for 4 generations and had, over those generations, been continuously and expensively maintained at the specific standard of a residence whose specific structural condition was, in the specific vocabulary of Chicago's private household network, understood to be the specific outward expression of the specific family's specific position in the specific ecosystem of the city. Delphine crossed the specific side courtyard in the specific gray light of the September morning, presented her papers to the specific security officer at the specific service entrance who checked them with the specific unhurried thoroughness of a man who had been trained to be thorough and had, in the specific 8 months since he had been trained, encountered exactly 0 occasions on which the thoroughness had produced a problem worth reporting, and she was, at 8:04, admitted into the specific back kitchen of the residence, where Rocco was waiting for her with a specific expression of the specific fatigue of a man who had, in the specific last 6 weeks, personally interviewed 47 candidates for the position she was standing in, and who had, in the specific instant of taking her in with the specific practiced eye of a man whose specific professional life was the specific reading of specific people, adjusted his prior estimate of her prospects upward. Rocco was in his 50s, compact and gray-haired, with the specific carefulness of movement that specific men of a specific level of experience acquired through the specific long practice of never making a specific unnecessary motion, and he introduced himself in the specific short register that Delphine was going to learn was the specific register of the specific senior Caravelli staff, and he walked her through the specific ground floor of the residence in a specific silent tour that concluded at 8:21, in the specific service alcove off the specific library, where he stopped and turned to her and said, in the specific first sentence he had spoken since the specific tour had begun, Mr. Caravelli is currently in the library. He is in a specific mood that is somewhat above his ordinary baseline. I am going to introduce you now because the specific alternative, which is that you meet him for the first time in the specific ordinary course of your specific duties, is a specific alternative I have learned the hard way to avoid. I am going to ask you to enter the library, present yourself, and remain there for as long as it takes for him to acknowledge you and dismiss you. You are not required to speak. You are not required to defend yourself. You are required to remain standing where you are placed until the specific meeting concludes on his specific terms. Do you understand? And Delphine, who had been walked through some version of the specific same introduction at the specific first morning tour of every one of the specific 6 residences she had worked at over the previous 9 years, said, I understand. Let's go in. The library was a 2-story oak-paneled room that ran the specific full depth of the east side of the residence, with tall windows that looked out onto the specific back garden and with a specific concert grand piano, a specific Steinway of the specific model that appeared in the specific catalogs of the specific piano's specific manufacturer as the specific most expensive model the specific manufacturer produced, positioned against the specific interior wall, and it was, at 8:22, on the second Monday of September, occupied by a specific single man who was standing at the specific window with his back to the door and a specific crystal decanter in his hand. Delphine registered him in the specific instant of stepping through the doorway, with the specific full attention that her 9 years of walking into the specific first rooms of specific principles had trained her to deploy in the specific first 3 seconds of encounter. Because the specific first 3 seconds were the specific interval in which the specific accurate information about the specific principle was available before the specific principle became aware of being observed and adjusted the specific self they were presenting. He was tall. He was very tall. 6 feet 4, she estimated, from the specific angle of his shoulders relative to the specific window frame. And he was built with the specific dense, contained musculature of a man who had been, at some specific prior stage of his life, considerably more physically active than his current professional life required, and who had maintained the specific musculature into his current life as a specific matter of specific personal discipline. He wore a specific white dress shirt with the sleeves rolled to the specific point just below the elbow that revealed the specific tattoos on the specific forearms, dark, precise, considerably older than she would have estimated for a man of his specific age from the specific quality of the specific ink, and a specific pair of dark trousers of the specific bespoke cut that meant they had been made for him rather than purchased. His dark hair was longer than the specific short cut she would have expected from her prior residences, and was, in the specific back angle from which she was currently observing him, in a specific slight disarray that suggested it had, at some point in the specific last hour, been run through by the specific hand that was not currently holding the specific decanter. Rocco cleared his throat in the specific soft way that specific senior lieutenants had of announcing their presence in specific rooms occupied by their specific principals without startling them, and the specific man at the specific window said, without turning, in a specific low baritone that Delphine registered with the specific full attention her 9 years had trained her to bring to specific first encounter voices. The new one. Yes, sir, Rocco said. Delphine Marchetti. She has arrived. I would like to introduce her. The specific man at the specific window did not turn for a specific additional 4 seconds, during which Delphine registered the specific quality of his stillness, not the specific stillness of a man in a specific composed state, which was the specific stillness she had been trained to recognize from her prior principles, but the specific stillness of a man who was actively deciding, in the specific 4 seconds of the delay, whether he was going to conduct the specific introduction he had been offered or was going to instead conduct a specific alternative event of his own selection. And then he turned, and she saw his face for the specific first time. And she made the specific instantaneous adjustment to her prior estimate that she was going to have to make in the specific instant of seeing him, because his face at the specific first glance was, in the specific full completeness of it, considerably more precisely the specific face of a specific man of specific dangerous quality than she had been prepared for. And because the specific amber eyes that had just landed on her had a specific quality that she was going to have to make specific real-time accommodations to in the specific way she conducted the next several minutes of her professional life. He was 38 years old. She would learn this later. He had a specific severe face carved in the specific sharp angles that his specific Calabrian great-grandfather had carried across the Atlantic 4 generations earlier, a specific dark scar tracing the specific line of his left jaw that had been acquired at the specific age of 21 under specific circumstances Delphine was not, at 8:23 on the second Monday of September, going to be told about, and the specific quality of amber-brown gaze that specific men in his specific position developed over the specific years of using the specific gaze as the specific primary instrument of their specific professional operations. The gaze landed on her at the specific instant of him completing his turn, and it did what specific principal gazes had done in the specific first instant of encountering her at every one of the specific 6 residences she had worked at, which was to conduct a specific rapid assessment of her body, the specific weight of her, the specific width of her, the specific plush architecture of her, and to file that assessment in whatever specific compartment of his specific attention was going to determine how he treated her in the subsequent duration of their specific professional acquaintance. She had, at every prior residence, watched that assessment happen and watched the specific subsequent filing and had, on the specific basis of the specific quality of the specific filing, made her specific determinations about how she was going to conduct herself in the specific residence she had been hired into. What she watched happen behind Matteo Caravelli's amber eyes at the specific instant of his gaze completing its assessment of her was something she had not, in 9 years, previously observed. He did not file the specific assessment. He did not, so far as she could determine from the specific attention she was watching him with, register that a specific assessment had occurred at all. The gaze that had been evaluating her body simply moved to her face. At the specific instant it reached her face, and it did the specific thing his amber gaze was going to do to her over the specific coming months, which was to look at her with the specific full completeness of attention that was, she would come to understand, the specific default register of his engagement with anything he had decided was worth engaging with, and which was, in that specific moment on the specific morning of her specific first day, applied to her. Delphine Marchetti, he said. He said her name in the specific way that meant he had, in the specific interval since Rocco had spoken it, absorbed the specific pronunciation of both the specific first name and the specific last name and had, in the specific delivery of it back to her, reproduced the specific pronunciation with a specific correctness that indicated he had specific existing familiarity with the specific linguistic origins of both names. You are the housekeeper Rocco has decided is going to survive me. Yes, sir, Delphine said. That is my specific intention. Something moved at the specific corner of his mouth in the specific instant of her sentence, completing that she was going to have to catalog later. In the specific interior compartment, where she cataloged the specific small revealing motions of specific principles, as the specific first small motion she had ever seen on his face that was not either the specific severity or the specific dangerous quality she had already registered but was, instead, something considerably closer to the specific interested amusement of a man who had just been given a specific short answer he had not expected. He did not follow up on it. He turned his amber eyes to the specific decanter in his hand as if he had, in the specific instant of turning them, been reminded of the specific object's presence, and he lifted the specific decanter and, in the specific motion of a man who had, in the specific interval of the specific 4 seconds before he had turned to face her, made a specific decision that he was not going to be dissuaded from by the specific introduction that had been transacted since, through the specific decanter across the specific length of the specific library. The decanter, which was, Delphine registered with the specific full attention she was watching the specific throw with, a specific baccarat piece of the specific Harcourt series that had a specific retail value she would put at approximately $2,300, given the specific model, completed the specific arc of the specific throw in approximately 1.2 seconds, and connected with the specific center of the specific Steinway concert grand specific closed lid at approximately the specific center of the specific instrument's specific soundboard, and it detonated on the specific impact into the specific approximately 100 pieces of specific leaded crystal that specific baccarat pieces detonated into on specific hard impacts. And the specific Steinway, which had a specific retail value she would put at considerably more than the specific decanter, produced the specific sound of the specific impact that was the specific combined sound of the specific soundboard being struck by the specific mass of the specific decanter at the specific velocity of the specific throw, plus the specific dissonant harmonics of the specific approximately 220 tuned strings inside the specific instrument responding to the specific vibration of the specific impact, and the specific sound, in the specific full completeness of it, was one of the specific most expensive sounds Delphine had heard in her specific professional life. Rocco, who had, over the specific course of the specific last several months, presumably absorbed the specific event of watching Matteo Caravelli throw a specific expensive object at a specific different expensive object on a specific number of specific prior occasions, did not visibly react. Matteo Caravelli, who had thrown the specific decanter, watched the specific detonation with a specific expression that Delphine could not, from the specific angle she was currently occupying, fully read, but that appeared to include a specific quality of satisfaction that had not been present in his specific face before the specific throw. Delphine, who had, in the specific full completeness of her specific 9 years of specific professional experience, encountered many specific principles in many specific difficult moods, but had not previously witnessed a specific principle detonate a specific piece of the specific Baccarat Harcourt series against a specific Steinway concert grand in her specific presence. Watch the specific event with the specific full attention it required, and, in the specific short interval after the specific final piece of the specific crystal had settled onto the specific parquet floor, said, in a specific short register of her voice that was not the specific composed professional register she had used to introduce herself, and was, in the specific full accounting of what had just happened, considerably closer to her specific ordinary personal register. That was a very expensive tantrum. The specific silence that followed her specific sentence had a specific quality that Delphine was going to remember for the specific rest of her life, because the specific silence, in the specific full completeness of it, was the specific sound of a specific room in which the specific senior lieutenant of a specific major criminal organization had just been surprised into a specific micro-expression of specific alarm that he had not adjusted his face to conceal in the specific short interval. Before Delphine had turned her hazel eyes to look at Matteo Caravelli's face and observe what her specific sentence had produced there. What her specific sentence had produced on Matteo Caravelli's specific face was the specific first version of a specific expression she was going to see many times over the specific coming months, but that was, in the specific first instance of it, the specific expression of a specific man of a specific position who had just been spoken to in a specific way he had not, in a specific extended period of his specific recent professional life, been spoken to by any specific person in his specific ordinary orbit, and who was, in the specific instant of registering that he had been spoken to in that specific way, deciding what he was going to do about it. The specific decision took him approximately 3 seconds. And what the specific decision was, in the specific full completeness of it, insofar as Delphine could read it from the specific outside of it, which was the specific angle from which she was watching him from, was the specific decision that he was, on the specific balance of the specific factors he was weighing, going to be amused rather than offended, and that he was, in the specific instant of the decision completing, going to permit the specific amusement to be visible on his face for a specific short interval of approximately half a second before he replaced it with the specific severe composure of his specific ordinary register. Yes, he said. It was. He looked at Delphine. She looked at him. Rocco, who had, in the specific interval of the specific silence, made his own specific decisions about what was happening and had arrived at the specific decision that his specific interventions were not, at the specific moment, required, remained where he was, and continued not to visibly react. Matteo Caravelli said, "Clean it up," and Delphine, who had been given the specific first specific instruction of her specific employment, said, "Yes, sir," and turned to go and locate the specific broom she was going to require, and Matteo Caravelli, in the specific short instant of her turning, added, in the specific short register that she was going to learn was the specific register he used for the specific sentences he was, in the specific moment of delivering them, making the specific decision to deliver, the Steinway. Have Rocco call the tuner. It will need to be revoiced, and Delphine, without turning back, said, "Yes, sir. I will note the specific damage in my specific report to Rocco at the specific end of the specific morning," and she went to find the specific broom. By the specific end of her specific first week, Delphine had established the specific operational rhythm of the residence in a specific way that Rocco, who had, over the specific 9 years he had been running the specific staff, understood himself to be a specific competent judge of specific operational rhythms, had catalogued with a specific quiet professional respect. The residents had, over the specific 6 weeks of the specific crisis, become, through the specific rotation of 9 specific housekeepers who had each, in their specific short tenure, adjusted the specific operational rhythm to accommodate their own specific fear of the specific principle. A specific residence in which the specific operational rhythm was structured around the specific avoidance of the specific principle, which had, in the specific accounting of the specific principle's specific perception of it, contributed to the specific escalation of his specific mood, because the specific principle, in the specific interior architecture of him that Delphine was going to slowly come to understand over the specific coming months. Had experienced the specific avoidance as the specific confirmation of a specific interior belief he had been holding, which was that he was, in the specific full completeness of him, a specific man, that specific competent people who were not paid to remain in his specific proximity would specifically choose not to remain in his specific proximity. Delphine, without having been able to articulate to Rocco or to anyone else the specific analysis she had, in the specific first week, arrived at, had simply reorganized the specific operational rhythm of the residence around the specific opposite principle, which was the principle that the specific principle was going to be treated by her, at all specific hours and in all specific rooms, as a specific person who was going to be present in her specific working environment at the specific ordinary frequency of the specific principle of a specific residence, and whose specific presence was going to be responded to by her with the specific ordinary attention she brought to the specific presence of any specific person in any specific residence she had ever worked in, and no more and no less. She spoke to him when he was in the specific rooms she was working in. She asked him specific short practical questions about his specific preferences. She responded to his specific instructions with the specific short competent register she had used since her specific first morning. She did not, in the specific full completeness of her specific interactions with him, avoid him, and she did not, in the specific same completeness, treat him differently from the specific way she treated Rocco, or the specific driver, or the specific cook, or any of the specific other specific persons who occupied the specific residence in the specific course of her specific days. Matteo Caravelli, in the specific first week, noticed. He noticed in the specific quiet way that specific principles of his specific quality of attention noticed specific operational shifts in the specific residences they occupied, which was to say he did not, at any point in the specific first week, mention it aloud, but he adjusted his specific presence in the residence in the specific response to it that Rocco, who had been watching the specific principle for 9 years, cataloged as significant. He came out of the specific study on the specific second floor, where he had, over the specific 6 weeks of the specific crisis, been spending the specific majority of his non-professional hours in a specific isolated arrangement that had, in the specific accounting of everyone in the residence except him, been the specific outward expression of the specific interior condition that had generated the specific crisis, and he began to occupy the specific ground floor of the residence with the specific ordinary frequency of a specific principle in a specific ordinary state of engagement with his specific household. He took his specific breakfast in the specific breakfast room rather than on the specific tray that had been brought to the specific study. He read his specific morning papers in the specific library rather than in the specific interior sitting room that had, over the specific 6 weeks, functioned as his specific defensive perimeter. He took the specific dog, a specific Belgian Malinois named Aries who had, over the specific 6 weeks, been walked exclusively by the specific security staff, for the specific morning walk himself, in the specific back garden, at the specific hour of 8 in the specific morning that had, in the specific years before the specific crisis, been the specific hour of his specific morning walk with the specific dog. And he did all of this, over the specific first week of Delphine's specific employment, without ever once acknowledging aloud that his specific behavior had changed, and without ever once acknowledging aloud that the specific change had any specific relationship to the specific new person on the specific staff, and Delphine, for her part, did not acknowledge it aloud either. Because in the specific full accounting of her specific professional experience, the specific acknowledging aloud of the specific shifts in specific principles was the specific mistake that specific competent housekeepers understood not to make. The specific first specific direct engagement occurred on the specific evening of the specific 7th day. Matteo Caravelli had, over the specific course of the specific afternoon, received a specific piece of specific professional information at a specific meeting offsite that Delphine had cataloged from the specific quality of the specific driver's specific return demeanor at approximately 4 in the afternoon as having gone badly, and he had, at the specific hour of 6, Returned to the residence in the specific mood that Delphine was going to come to understand was the specific mood that had, over the specific 6 weeks of the specific crisis, produced the specific escalation, and he had gone directly to the specific library and closed the specific door. The specific residence, in the specific interval of the specific closed door, had entered the specific quiet that had, over the specific 6 weeks, been the specific atmospheric condition of the specific residence, and Rocco, who was in the specific kitchen with Delphine at the specific hour of 7, had said, in the specific short register he was using with her, that the specific principal was not going to eat, and that Delphine should ensure the specific dinner service was cancelled for the evening, and that she should, in the specific accounting of the specific evening, keep the specific ordinary operations of the specific residence away from the specific library. And Delphine had said, yes, understood, and had, in the specific interval of the specific subsequent 30 minutes, made the specific decision that Rocco was going to disagree with if she consulted him about it, and had, on the specific basis of the specific decision, not consulted him, and had, at the specific hour of 7:45, gone to the specific pantry and assembled the specific ingredients for a specific dish that had been the specific comfort meal of her specific great-aunt in Palermo, a specific plate of the specific Sicilian pasta of the specific short curly variety in the specific rustic tomato and anchovy sauce, with the specific breadcrumbs and the specific ricotta salata that her specific great-aunt had, in the specific final months of her specific life, taught Delphine to make from the specific memory of the specific version of it her specific mother had made for her in the specific mountain village of her specific childhood, and had prepared the specific dish over the specific interval of the specific next 40 minutes with the specific competent professional attention she brought to every specific plate of specific food she had ever prepared, and had, at the specific hour of 8:25, plated the specific dish onto a specific white plate that she had first warmed in the specific low oven for the specific short interval that specific competent presentation required, and had carried the specific plate on a specific small wooden tray with a specific short glass of the specific rustic red wine that the specific pasta was going to want to be accompanied by, and had, at the specific hour of 8:28, knocked on the specific door of the specific library. The specific short interval before he responded had the specific quality of an interval in which the specific man on the specific interior of the specific door was, in the specific moment of the specific knock, making the specific decision about whether he was going to acknowledge the specific knock at all. The specific decision took him approximately 11 seconds, and what he said at the specific end of the specific 11 seconds was, in the specific short baritone she was already beginning to become specifically familiar with, enter, and Delphine entered. The specific library was dark. He had not turned on the specific overhead lights. The specific room was illuminated only by the specific pale gray light that was coming through the specific tall windows from the specific overcast September evening outside, and by the specific single low sconce on the specific far wall that was, in the specific full accounting of the specific room's specific normal illumination, considerably less light than was ordinarily deployed. He was at the specific same window he had been at on the specific morning of her specific first day, in the specific same specific standing position, with a specific different glass in his hand, this time a specific short crystal tumbler of what she was going to identify from the specific color as a specific Macallan of a specific considerable age. And the specific quality of his stillness at the specific window was, in the specific accounting of what she was going to come to understand about him, the specific quality of the specific stillness that his specific interior condition took on when the specific interior condition had, over the specific hours of the specific afternoon, moved from the specific active anger of the specific earlier hours of the specific crisis into the specific quieter and considerably more dangerous version of the specific same condition that specific men of his specific quality of attention arrived at when the specific anger had, in the specific interior architecture, transitioned into the specific settled decision-making that specific anger of specific sufficient duration eventually transitioned into. Delphine, who had, in the specific short interval of her specific entrance, Absorb the specific full completeness of the specific ambient condition of the specific room and the specific standing figure of the specific principal at the specific window, and who understood, on the specific basis of the specific ambient condition, that the specific evening had a specific shape she was going to have to make specific real-time decisions about. Walk to the specific small round side table beside the specific leather armchair near the specific fireplace, and set the specific tray down on the specific table, and pulled the specific armchair a specific short distance closer to the specific hearth, so that the specific angle of the specific chair was oriented toward the specific window, and said, in the specific short register that she was, at the specific moment of speaking it, deciding was the specific register she was going to use with him at the specific moment. There is a specific plate of specific pasta on the specific table beside the specific chair. It is the specific dish my specific great-aunt taught me to make in the specific final months of her specific life. It is not the specific kind of specific dish that improves with waiting. If you eat it in the specific next 15 minutes, it will be the specific correct plate. If you eat it in the specific next hour, it will be a specific different plate, which will still be a specific good plate, but will not be the specific plate I made for you. I am going to leave the specific tray and the specific plate and the specific glass of wine, and I am going to go, and what you do with them is going to be entirely your specific decision. Good night, Mr. Caravelli. She turned to go, and she got approximately 3 steps toward the specific door before he said, in the specific short baritone he had used to say enter, sit. She stopped. She turned. He had not turned from the specific window. She said, in the specific short register that had, over the specific first week, become the specific register she used with him. In the specific armchair, sir, or in the specific different chair across from it. The specific different chair. Delphine walked to the specific different chair, which was a specific small oak reading chair positioned on the specific far side of the specific fireplace from the specific armchair, and she sat in it, and she waited. Matteo Caravelli remained at the specific window for a specific additional 40 seconds. Then he turned. He looked at her from the specific window at the specific distance of approximately 20 feet across the specific darkened library, and he looked at her for a specific long moment. And then he crossed the specific 20 feet to the specific armchair, and he sat in it. And he set the specific tumbler of Macallan on the specific side table, and he picked up the specific fork from the specific tray, and he took a specific first bite of the specific pasta. He chewed. He swallowed. He was quiet for a specific short moment. He took a specific second bite. He said, at the specific completion of the specific second bite, without looking at her, my grandmother made this. Yes, sir. Not the specific same recipe, but the specific same category of recipe. Yes, sir. It is the specific general category of the specific dishes that specific Sicilian great-grandmothers made for the specific short version of the specific evening in which the specific person they were feeding did not want the specific long version of the specific evening. Something happened at the specific corner of his mouth again. He took a specific third bite. He said, you have specific opinions about the specific hour of the specific evening, Delphine. Yes, sir. I have specific opinions about many things. I have not previously deployed them in the specific full completeness of them in your specific residence because you did not, in the specific first 6 days, ask for them. He looked at her from the specific armchair. In the specific low light of the specific single sconce and the specific gray window light, his specific amber eyes were considerably darker than they had been at the specific window on the specific morning of her specific first day, and they had the specific quality of the specific complete attention she had catalogued at the specific initial introduction, and she watched them look at her for a specific long moment, and she watched him, in the specific short interval of the specific look, arrive at the specific decision that he was, on the specific balance of the specific factors he was weighing, going to permit her to see a specific interior version of him that he had not, in the specific accounting of his specific ordinary practice, permitted anyone in his specific ordinary orbit to see in a specific extended period. And what he said, at the specific completion of the specific look, was, ask me one specific short question about the specific interior condition I am currently occupying. If the specific question is a specific question I judge to be the specific correct question to ask, I will answer it. If it is not the specific correct question, I will not. And you will go back to the specific kitchen, and we will not repeat this specific arrangement. Delphine considered the specific short question. She considered it in the specific short interval of approximately 8 seconds, in the specific full concentration of her specific attention, because she understood in the specific instant of receiving the specific offer that the specific question was going to be the specific instrument through which the specific arrangement between them was, from the specific instant of her asking it, going to be constructed. She said, "The specific person you lost was a specific person of what specific relationship to you?" Matteo Caravelli set the specific fork down on the specific plate. He looked at her from the specific armchair with the specific complete attention. He was quiet for a specific long moment. Then he said, "My specific brother. He died 5 months ago in a specific set of circumstances that were not, at the specific full completeness of the specific accounting, an accident. I have, over the specific interval since, arranged for the specific persons responsible for the specific set of circumstances to cease to exist. The specific arrangement has now been executed. The specific closure of the specific arrangement has not, in the specific accounting of my specific interior condition, produced the specific outcome I had, in the specific interior architecture of my specific expectation, expected it to produce. That is the specific condition I am currently occupying. It is the specific reason I have, over the specific interval of the specific last several months, been what the specific staff of this specific residence would specifically describe as difficult." Delphine looked at him from the specific reading chair. She said, "Thank you for the specific answer. It was the specific answer I understood, from the specific interior condition of the specific residence at the specific moment of my specific arrival, that a specific version of the specific interior condition of the specific principle was going to be. I am going to say one specific short thing back to you, and I am going to permit you to decide, on the specific basis of the specific short thing, whether the specific arrangement we are, at the specific moment, constructing is a specific arrangement you want to continue constructing. The specific person who died was a specific person you loved. The specific interior condition you are occupying is the specific interior condition of a specific man who is grieving a specific person he loved, and who has, in the specific interior accounting of it, mistaken the specific interior condition of grief for the specific interior condition of anger, because the specific interior condition of anger has, over the specific course of the specific professional life you have led, been considerably more familiar to you than the specific interior condition of grief, and because the specific interior condition of anger has a specific instrumental utility that the specific interior condition of grief does not. What you have been doing over the specific last several months is expensive. The specific expensiveness of it is not, in the specific full accounting, a specific problem, because you have specific resources to accommodate the specific expensiveness. What is a specific problem, in the specific full accounting, is that you have, over the specific course of the specific expensiveness, been requiring the specific persons around you to accommodate the specific expensiveness in the specific accounting of their specific ordinary daily operations, and the specific persons around you are, in the specific full completeness of them, specific persons who love you in the specific ways specific persons in your specific position are loved, and they have been, over the specific course of the specific expensiveness, watching you grieve your specific brother in a specific manner that is not going to bring your specific brother back, and they have been unable to say to you what I am, at the specific moment, saying to you, because the specific structure of the specific relationships you have with them does not, in the specific accounting of it, permit the specific saying, I am, on the specific balance of my specific relationship with you, which is the specific relationship of a specific new housekeeper in her specific 7th day of specific employment, in a specific position to say it. I am saying it. Your specific brother is not going to come back, Matteo Caravelli. The specific arrangement you have executed has closed the specific account of the specific persons responsible for his specific death, and it has not, in the specific interior accounting, addressed the specific different account of the specific fact of his specific death itself. That specific different account is not going to be addressed by the specific instruments you have used over the specific course of the specific professional life you have led to address specific accounts. That specific different account is going to have to be addressed by the specific instrument of you specifically permitting yourself to grieve, which is the specific instrument you have, over the specific course of the specific expensiveness, been specifically refusing to permit yourself to use. I am going to eat the specific rest of this specific plate of specific pasta with you, if you specifically permit me to, and I am going to sit in this specific chair with you for as long as the specific evening requires, and I am going to leave when the specific evening concludes, and I am going to return in the specific morning, and I am going to continue to be present in your specific residence in the specific manner I have been present in it, and the specific decision about whether the specific instrument I am, at the specific moment, offering you is a specific instrument you are going to permit yourself to use is going to be, in the specific full accounting, entirely your specific decision. Are we agreed? The specific silence in the specific library that followed the specific completion of her specific sentence had, in the specific accounting of it, a specific quality that was different from the specific quality of the specific silence that had followed her specific comment about the specific expensive tantrum on the specific morning of her specific first day. The specific quality of the specific silence at 8:42 on the specific evening of her specific seventh day was the specific quality of a specific silence produced by a specific man who had, in the specific accounting of the specific extended interval of his specific professional life, not been spoken to in the specific way Delphine had just spoken to him, and who was, in the specific instant of registering it, making the specific decision about what he was going to do about it. The specific decision took him approximately 11 seconds. Approximately halfway through the specific 11 seconds, Delphine watched a specific single tear slide down the specific right side of Matteo Caravelli's specific face, from the specific outer corner of his specific right eye to the specific line of his specific jaw, at the specific slow pace of a specific tear from a specific man who had not, in a specific extended period of his specific adult life, permitted himself to produce the specific physiological product, and who was, in the specific slow pace of the specific single tear, permitting it not because he had made a specific interior decision to permit it, but because he had, in the specific 11 seconds, exhausted the specific interior capacity to prevent it. He did not wipe it away. He did not, in the specific full accounting of the specific 11 seconds, move. At the specific completion of the specific 11 seconds, he said, in a specific voice that had, in the specific short interval since he had said, the specific brother, dropped by a specific measurable interval in the specific pitch of it, we are agreed. Delphine got up from the specific reading chair. She went to the specific kitchen. She returned, 3 minutes later, with the specific second plate of the specific pasta she had prepared for her own specific dinner and a specific second short glass of the specific rustic red, and she sat in the specific reading chair across from the specific armchair. And she and Matteo Caravelli ate the specific plates of the specific pasta together in the specific low light of the specific library in the specific quiet of the specific overcast September evening, and they did not, in the specific full completeness of the specific meal, speak. When they had finished, Delphine took the specific 2 plates and the specific 2 glasses back to the specific kitchen and washed them, and she returned to the specific library one final time with a specific small glass of a specific short espresso she had prepared on the specific espresso machine and a specific small piece of specific dark chocolate from the specific Barocco kept in the specific pantry for the specific principles of specific occasional consumption, and she set them on the specific side table beside the specific armchair, and she said, "Good night, Mr. Caravelli. I will be back at 7 in the morning," and Matteo Caravelli said, in a specific voice that was, in the specific accounting of the specific interval that had passed since he had said the specific short thing about his specific brother, the specific quiet baritone she was going to come to know as the specific voice he used with her from the specific evening forward. "Good night, Delphine. Thank you." The specific rest of the specific autumn, in the specific full accounting of it, unfolded in the specific slow specific manner of a specific extended reorganization of a specific residence and a specific man that Delphine, in the specific full completeness of the specific competence she had brought to the specific position, presided over with the specific quiet unhurried thoroughness of a specific person who had, over the specific years of her specific professional life, been specifically preparing for the specific opportunity to preside over exactly the specific kind of reorganization the specific residence had specifically required. She reorganized the specific breakfast rhythm. She reorganized the specific pattern of the specific afternoon coffee. She reorganized the specific evening routine of the specific dog. She engaged in specific short daily conversations with Matteo Caravelli on specific short topics. In the specific short register she had used since her specific first day, and she watched, over the specific weeks of the specific autumn, the specific interior condition of the specific man at the specific center of the specific residence slowly, specifically, incrementally reorganize itself around the specific, quiet daily presence of a specific woman who had, at the specific critical moment of her specific first week, refused to accommodate the specific expensive expression of his specific interior condition and had, in the specific quiet manner she had refused it, offered him a specific alternative that he had, in the specific slow interior accounting of it, permitted himself to accept. She did not permit herself, over the specific course of the specific autumn, to catalog the specific interior condition of her own developing specific feeling about the specific man, because the specific cataloging of it, in the specific accounting of her specific professional discipline, was going to complicate the specific quality of the specific work she was doing. And she was going to do the specific quality of the specific work for as long as the specific work was going to be required. She did not, in the specific full accounting of it, permit Matteo Caravelli to see the specific developing specific feeling either, and Matteo Caravelli, in the specific accounting of his own specific development, did not attempt to observe it, because he had, over the specific course of the specific autumn, arrived at the specific interior decision that the specific integrity of the specific quiet arrangement between them was, in the specific full completeness of it, considerably more important than the specific interior speed at which the specific arrangement was going to develop into whatever the specific arrangement was, in the specific interior architecture of both of them, going to eventually develop into. By the specific first week of December, the specific residence had reorganized itself. The specific staff had settled. The specific security detail had adjusted the specific perimeter accommodations to the specific new operational rhythm. Rocco had, in the specific quiet weekly meeting he held with Delphine on the specific Sunday morning to review the specific operations of the specific coming week, expressed to her, in the specific short register the specific two of them had developed with each other, that the specific residence had not, in his specific memory, operated at the specific standard the specific residence was, at the specific moment, operating at. Matteo Caravelli had, in the specific accounting of the specific first week of December, become a specific man of the specific composed daily register that Delphine had, from the specific first 3 seconds of encountering him on the specific morning of her specific first day, understood him to be the specific base version of, and the specific extended interval of the specific anger that had preceded her specific arrival had, in the specific accounting of it, quietly ended. On the specific second Wednesday of December, Matteo Caravelli invited Delphine to the specific library at the specific hour of 8 in the specific evening, in the specific manner he had, over the specific autumn, developed of inviting her to the specific library on the specific evenings he wished to discuss a specific particular matter with her, and she came, and she sat in the specific reading chair she had, over the specific autumn, come to think of as her specific chair, and Matteo Caravelli, from the specific armchair, said, Delphine, I have been thinking, over the specific interval of the last several weeks, about a specific matter I would like to speak with you about, and I have arrived, in the specific interior accounting of it, at the specific decision to speak with you about it tonight. I understand that the specific matter is going to require of you the specific consideration of a specific proposition that is a specific different proposition from the specific arrangement you and I have been maintaining. I understand, further, that the specific different proposition is going to require of me the specific careful articulation of the specific full completeness of it, and I am going to attempt the specific articulation with the specific attention it requires. I have, over the specific interval of the specific autumn, developed a specific feeling about you that I have, in the specific interior accounting of it, characterized to myself with a specific precision I would like to now share with you. The specific feeling is not the specific feeling of a specific employer for a specific competent employee. The specific feeling is the specific feeling of a specific man for a specific woman, and it has, over the specific weeks, become the specific most reliable specific interior condition of my specific daily life. I would like, in the specific next several months, to know whether the specific feeling is a specific feeling that is, in the specific accounting of your specific interior condition, in any specific manner reciprocated, and if the specific reciprocation is a specific fact of your specific interior condition, I would like, over the specific interval of the specific coming year, to permit the specific reciprocation to develop into whatever the specific reciprocation is, in the specific full accounting of both of us, going to develop into. I understand that the specific proposition I am, at the specific moment, articulating, is a specific proposition that is going to require of you the specific consideration of the specific full completeness of the specific professional and specific personal considerations involved, and I am not, in the specific accounting of the specific proposition, asking you for the specific answer at the specific moment. I am asking you for the specific permission to have the specific longer conversation over the specific interval of the specific coming weeks. Delphine looked at Matteo Caravelli from the specific reading chair. She looked at him for a specific long moment. She said, "The specific reciprocation is a specific fact of my specific interior condition. It has been a specific fact of my specific interior condition since the specific third week of October. I have not permitted myself to catalog it in the specific full completeness of it because the specific cataloging was going to complicate the specific quality of the specific work I was doing, and I was going to do the specific quality of the specific work for as long as the specific work was going to be required. The specific work is now, in the specific full accounting of it, of a specific quality that is going to permit the specific cataloging. You have the specific permission you are asking for. I am asking you, in return, for the specific same permission from you, which is the specific permission to have the specific longer conversation over the specific interval of the specific coming weeks, at the specific pace that the specific two of us are going to specifically negotiate, as the specific correct specific pace. Are we agreed?" Matteo Caravelli, in the specific armchair, in the specific warm light of the specific library at the specific hour of 8:09 on the specific second Wednesday of December, permitted the specific first specific full smile she had seen him produce over the specific autumn to spread across his specific severe face, and he said, in the specific quiet baritone he used with her, "We are agreed, mia cara," and Delphine, who had been waiting, in the specific interior compartment of her specific attention, for the specific first specific instance of the specific endearment, for a specific extended interval of the specific autumn, permitted herself, in the specific instant of receiving it, the specific full specific interior response she had been holding in the specific reserve. And she smiled at him in the specific full specific version of her specific smile, and Matteo Caravelli, in the specific instant of receiving it, understood that the specific reorganization of the specific residence and the specific reorganization of the specific man at the specific center of it had, over the specific autumn, produced the specific outcome he had, in the specific interior architecture, been waiting for without permitting himself to know he had been waiting for. And they began, in the specific slow specific manner they had negotiated between them, the specific longer conversation. By the specific spring, the specific longer conversation had produced a specific arrangement that Delphine, in the specific accounting of it, understood as the specific first specific arrangement of her specific adult life that had been constructed at the specific pace and specific quality she had, in the specific interior compartment of her specific hopes. Always specifically hoped a specific arrangement of her specific life would be constructed at. Matteo Caravelli asked her to marry him at the specific end of April, in the specific back garden of the specific residence at the specific hour of 10 in the specific morning, in the specific quiet plain terms that had characterized every important sentence he had, in the specific interval of the specific autumn and the specific winter, said to her. She accepted him in the specific same terms. Rocco, when he heard, In the specific short manner Matteo Caravelli informed him of it in the specific short meeting on the same specific afternoon, said, in the specific short register he used with the specific principle. This is the specific correct outcome. I have understood, since the specific end of the specific first week of Delphine's specific employment, that this was the specific direction of the specific arrangement. I am glad. I will make the specific staff aware of the specific change situation at the specific appropriate interval, and Matteo Caravelli, in the specific short manner, said, thank you, Rocco, and Rocco, in the specific short manner, said, you are welcome, sir, and that was, in the specific full accounting of the specific formalization, the specific full extent of the specific ceremony that Rocco was going to require. The specific wedding, at the specific end of the specific summer, was a specific small gathering in the specific back garden of the specific Astor Street residence, at the specific hour of 5 in the specific afternoon, in the specific golden light of the specific late August evening. Delphine wore a specific gown of specific deep emerald silk that had been made for her by a specific atelier on Grand Avenue that had, on the specific instruction of Matteo Caravelli, adjusted the specific pattern to accommodate the specific full architecture of her body with the specific precision that the specific tailored kitchen whites of her prior professional life had never afforded. And she carried a specific small bouquet of the specific white roses that Matteo Caravelli's specific grandmother had, in the specific years of her specific full life, kept in the specific garden of her specific Calabrian village. Her specific parents, who had flown in from the specific small town in southern Illinois where she had grown up, sat in the specific front row of the specific short arrangement of chairs, and her specific mother, who had, in the specific weeks preceding the specific wedding, developed the specific quiet understanding with Delphine that the specific man her specific daughter was marrying was a specific man whose specific full professional life was not going to be described in the specific ordinary terms, said, at the specific moment of Delphine crossing the specific short aisle on her specific father's specific arm, in the specific short whisper to her specific husband beside her, that Delphine had always, in the specific full accounting of her specific childhood, been the specific daughter who was going to find the specific arrangement she needed by the specific mechanism of specifically ignoring the specific warnings other people gave her, and that the specific present arrangement was, in the specific same accounting, entirely consistent with the specific pattern. Matteo Caravelli, at the specific altar under the specific arbor of specific climbing white roses, watched Delphine cross the specific short aisle toward him with the specific full attention he had been directing at her since the specific evening of her specific 7th day. And when she arrived, and her specific father placed her specific hand in his specific hand, Matteo Caravelli said, in the specific quiet baritone he used with her, mia cara, and Delphine, in the specific same quiet register, said, I am here, and the specific short ceremony proceeded. Delphine Marchetti walked through the specific service gate of the Caravelli residence at 7:45 on the specific second Monday of September with a specific duffel bag over her specific shoulder and no specific interest in accommodating any of the specific warnings she had received, and she found, in the specific interior of the specific residence, a specific man who had spent the specific 6 months preceding her specific arrival in the specific expensive expression of a specific interior condition he had not permitted himself to name, and she reorganized, over the specific autumn, the specific residence and the specific man at the specific center of it with the specific quiet, unhurried competence of a specific woman who had understood, from the specific first 3 seconds, that the specific principal at the specific window was not a specific dangerous man who was angry, but a specific dangerous man who was grieving, and that the specific instrument the specific residence had specifically required for the specific reorganization was the specific instrument the specific staff of 9 specific prior housekeepers had, in the specific full completeness of their specific fear, been unable to bring themselves to specifically wield. If you love this story of a woman who walked into a residence full of frightened men and calmly refused to be frightened, and the specific dangerous man who discovered, in the specific quiet daily presence of her, the specific first specific person of his specific adult life, who was going to speak the specific true things to him and permit him to hear them. Hit that like button. Share this story with someone who needs the specific reminder that the specific person everyone else is running from. Might, in the specific full accounting of it, be a specific person who has been waiting his specific whole life for the specific one person who is going to stay. And subscribe to the channel for more slow burn possessive mafia romances where the specific women everyone overlooked turn out. In the specific quiet manner of it, to be the specific ones the specific dangerous men have been specifically waiting for all along.